Hello and welcome to Cumberland Conversations. I'm Sally Shutt, Cumberland County's Public Information Director. During our conversation today, we'll meet Cumberland County's new County Manager, Amy Cannon, and Finance Director, Melissa Cardinali. We'll learn about the county's financial operations and the fiscal year 2015 budget. Thank you both for being here today. Amy, give us an overview of the fiscal year 2015 budget.
Sure. Sally, the county-wide total budget is $484 million. That encompasses the general fund, the county's enterprise fund, such as solid waste and the Coliseum Fund, and special revenue funds and agency funds. The general fund, which is the county's operating fund, totals $312 million. The tax rate remains at 74 cents per hundred, and a penny on the tax rate will bring in about $2.2 million in revenue.
Great. So, Melissa, in addition to property taxes, what are some of the other sources of revenue for the county?
Sally, that's true. Property taxes actually provide the majority of our revenue in the county, about 54% of all of our funding. Another significant source is sales tax. That brings in about 12% of our budget, and then we do rely on grants, state and federal funding to support some mandated services that we provide, like foster care, health programs, and the courts.
So, Amy, as you and the financial team were planning this budget, what were some important considerations you had to take into account?
First, Sally, we looked at revenue and current year revenue collections. Specifically, the property tax collections are very strong this year. Our tax office has achieved a collection rate of 99% or greater for the last 6 years, and I think that speaks very highly of their diligent efforts in difficult economic times. Unfortunately, sales tax this year has been very disappointing. While most other local governments in the state of North Carolina are seeing 4.5% increases in sales tax, Cumberland, unfortunately, is seeing 4 or more percent losses in sales tax. That equates to about a projected loss for this fiscal year of about $2.4 million. We became very concerned about this trend earlier in the fiscal year and began to ask ourselves, why are we having this type of activity in Cumberland only? We reached out to other military communities such as Onslow County and Bell County, home of Fort Hood in Texas. Ironically, those communities as well are seeing a reduced sales tax collections while surrounding local governments have increased collections. Sally, we believe that federal budget issues have affected our local economy. Sequestration that led to furloughs, and then the federal budget shutdown in the fall, I believe caused our consumers and our economy to become conservative, and it affect our sales tax activity. I believe going forward, we're going to have to be very cautious in looking at our expenditures and reviewing this trend for the future.
Now, Amy mentioned expenditures, Melissa, so please outline for us, those various categories in the budget for expenditures.
Right, Sally, I do think it's important for our public to understand that the majority of the expenditures and services that we provide are mandated by state law. Some examples would include education. We do support the Cumberland County Board of Education financially, as well as Fayetteville Technical Community College. We provide public safety through the Sheriff's Office, through the courts, through our detention center, as well as animal control. We do provide social services, and that would include child protective services, adult protective services, foster care, as well as nutrition assistance for families. We also provide health programs, which would include health clinics, dental clinics, and pregnancy care programs as well. While the majority of our expenditures are mandates by law, we do provide some services that are not mandated, and that would include our public library system, as well as services that we provide for the veterans in our community.
So Amy, in your budget you established some funding priorities. So tell us about those priorities.
Since we were facing very little revenue growth, natural growth, and very limited resources, and we had significant requests from all of our county departments, we identified some priority areas, and those are mandates, which included education funding, public safety expenditures, social services, and other issues like that. The second category was repairs and maintenance to our county's facilities. And then third category was technology.
So then let's circle back around to education, Melissa, and talk about a very important school funding agreement between the Board of Commissioners and the Board of Education, and explain how, what's outlined in that agreement and why it's so helpful to have an agreement in place.
Sure. I would say that what we have in Cumberland County appears to be unique across the state in our relationship between the Board of Commissioners and the Board of Education. The county and the Board of Education first entered a funding agreement about 10 years ago in 2004. That last agreement expired in 2011, and since that time, funding has been maintained for the Board of Education at just over $76 million each year. In February of this year, both boards reached a new agreement, and that will impact the next 4 years through 2018. And basically, in that agreement, the Board of Education will receive just over 46% of our budgeted property tax revenue. Then anything we collect over the budget, the Board of Education will receive an additional 25% of. That agreement has been very important, Sally, because it has allowed predictability for both the county and the Board of Education when we are going into the budget season. And it's also provided the Board of Education with assured funding levels as they go forward.
Okay. Now, Amy, you've been with the county 24 years, so you remember those days before we had a funding agreement. Can you share a little bit about the history involved?
I'll be glad to. In the early 90s and through the mid-90s, the Board of Education needed some significant funding increases. Their budget is legally not due to the county until May 15th, which is the time that finance is wrapping up the budget and to present to the county commissioners by June 1st. Very large increase requests were coming in from the Board of Education. The county was facing significant funding issues as well, and it led to some very contentious discussions between the two boards, and actually led to two rounds of litigation between the Board of County Commissioners and the Board of Education. Obviously, that is not healthy or productive for the community. Having a funding agreement, as Melissa said, provides predictability for both sides, the county on the expenditure side as well as the Board of Education on the revenue side. I would say that our Board of Education and Board of County Commissioners have a really strong working relationship, and I think that speaks well of them and for the community as well.
Great. Let's move into the area of public safety, another mandated area. It's a major portion of the budget, Amy, so what were some of the highlights in this year's budget for public safety?
Again, we had a lot of requests, Sally, that we had to prioritize. The Sheriff's Department asked for additional staff for courthouse security. We were able to provide 4 part-time positions to work in the courtrooms because of the complex issues that they deal with on a daily basis. Again, vehicles are a big part of our law enforcement budget, and we try each year to replace an amount of the fleet to keep our fleet in good condition. This year, we were only able to fund 13 replacements. In addition, technology is an important piece of all county departments, but also for the Sheriff's Office. The mobile data terminals that the sheriff deputies have in their vehicles are outdated. So we provided funding to replace the mobile data terminals, as well as some needed infrastructure on the technology side in the sheriff's office. In addition, a large part of our funding this year had to be directed to the detention facility. As you're aware, we opened mid-year the new expansion wing for the detention center. We had to put an additional $900,000 in the budget for salaries and operating costs to fund a full 12 months of operations in that facility. And then under animal control, we provided some additional vehicles as well as some operational funds. Over the last 10 to 12 years, departmental operating budgets have been held at the same level or actually reduced. But because of additional services provided by the Animal Control Department, we added some operational funds. And that's the total category for public safety.
Okay. Well, this is some wonderful information. We're just going to take a break for just a few moments, and then we'll be back with you and our look at Cumberland County's financial operations and its fiscal year 2015 budget. Welcome back as we continue our look at Cumberland County's financial operations. Our guests are County Manager Amy Cannon and Finance Director Melissa Cardinali. Melissa, we're going to move into the area of social services. So please tell us about some of the issues that they're dealing with, especially an increase in the need for more foster parents.
Right, Sally. What we have seen in the social services area and had to address in this fiscal year 15 budget is the number of children in foster care has increased 23%. That brings the total number of children in foster care for Cumberland County to about 780 children. That increase has translated into increased demand for homes willing to house foster children. We have an increase in the number of cases that need review. It also has increased the number of court actions to which our staff must adhere, and it's increased our need for case follow-up as well.
Okay. So, Amy, is there anything you'd like to add about the need for the needs in our foster care program?
Actually, I would, Sally. I'd like to take this opportunity to expand on what Melissa has said about the foster home issue. The numbers of children has increased significantly. But another piece to that is that we have some issues with finding parents that are willing to open up their home for these foster children. In fact, many people don't realize, but we have, because of the transit nature of this community, we have difficulty in finding foster homes. We actually have children in surrounding counties, actually as far away as Mecklenburg County, which creates some complexity for the social workers in providing transportation for regular visitation, and it really creates some hardships for those children as well to make that long trip on a regular basis, as well as it's very costly for the county in providing that transportation. I would just say this, I would say that if there's anyone in the community that's interested in opening their home for children that need a loving and caring home, that our social services director, Brenda Jackson, would love to talk to them. We have many children that are in great need, and we need families that are willing to provide and to sacrifice their home and their time for children that are in great need. If I could, I'd like to give the telephone number,
Please
Sally.
do.
It's 910-323-1540. Brenda Jackson is the director, and she would love to have a conversation with you, as we're very eager to encourage citizens in our community to participate in the needed provision of human services to children.
Well, I hope that viewers out there, it will help us spread the word about that need, and to please contact our Department of Social Services. Let's move into another area, and Amy, that is the repair and maintenance section of the budget. That was another key, one of the priorities in the budget. So tell us about some of those projects.
Sure. Due to limited financial resources for many years, Sally, we delayed some critical repairs and maintenance to our county facilities. We've reached a point that we can no longer delay some of these issues. We recommended $1.5 million for various projects. The two largest projects are at the Department of Social Services and the headquarters library. We have some window condensation issues at the Department of Social Services that needs to be addressed, as well as some crumbling brick and facade issues at headquarters library. Those two projects alone total about $850,000. And as you can imagine, with the number of county facilities we have, there are heating and cooling systems that need to be repaired and maintained to be in good order. So this was a major funding priority for us this year.
Technology was another major one, Melissa. So tell us about some of the technology needs we hope to address this year.
Well, Sally, Amy did identify in the budget that technology is one of the key components and a place where we believe we can create greater efficiency for our customers as well as our employees. To that end, we are transitioning currently our telephone system to a voice over internet protocol system. We know this will reduce our operating expenses later on down the road, and it will also provide a reliable phone network. We also are continuing to upgrade our network servers throughout the county. This is an ongoing issue, but we need to ensure that we've got a reliable network from which our employees operate and do serve the public. We are also in the fiscal year 15 budget replacing public computers, some of the public computers at our libraries. Those computers are used for job searches, or they may be used by children working on school projects, but they are accessible to the public. In addition, we began this year implementing a document imaging system. And that system is going to allow departments like social services and child support to transfer documents electronically and with much greater ease. So that will create a lot of efficiency when they're serving their clients. And we'll take that into some other departments as well as we go, moving us into more virtual versus paper environment. And finally, we have a major software upgrade that we have begun, and that relates to the finance, human resources, and benefits software. And while that may seem contained to 3 departments, it actually affects every department in the county, as it will increase their efficiency for just normal processing of their payrolls, their purchasing, and hiring, those kind of processes. So we're really excited about that.
Then moving forward, Amy, what are some of the future initiatives that you've included?
As I said, we had to delay some major building and infrastructure repairs. We believe that moving forward, Sally, we need to establish a goal of setting aside funds annually in 2 areas, and that would be for building and mechanical systems, as well as technology, maintenance, and upgrades. Our goal in doing this, Sally, would be to place the county in a proactive position of protecting our building infrastructure and our technology backbone. In addition, we would also like to establish a revolving fund for vehicle replacements. It could be funded in 2 ways. As we sell vehicles that have been retired from the fleet, those proceeds could be placed in the fund. In addition, if we could also establish a goal of setting aside funding annually, I believe that this would reduce the burden of having to identify a significant amount of funds during the budget process for vehicle replacement. Also, we'd like to continue our green initiative, Sally. I'm really excited that for the first year, we were able to recommend some hybrid vehicles to add to our fleet. We actually added 5. We plan to monitor the performance and the cost savings of these vehicles, and it's my hope that we can continue to migrate some hybrid vehicles into departments where it makes sense. Due to limited resources, we were unable to identify recurring funds to provide a much-needed cost of living adjustment for our county employees. However, we did include $1.2 million in the budget for the employer match for rising medical insurance costs, as opposed to passing on higher premiums or co-pays to our employees. I do believe in the future we need to make a goal of identifying additional or sufficient recurring revenue to provide a cost of living adjustment for our employees.
Now, the budget is available on the county's website and so on the finance department page, Melissa, but there's also a lot of other information that's available for the citizens to access. Tell us about what they'll find on the finance department's webpage.
Yes, Sally, the current year, the fiscal year 15 budget is there, as well as previous budgets. I think we've got about 10 or 12 years worth of that history out there. And our annual financial report is out there, which is, while the budget is our roadmap and our guide, the annual financial report tells us how we did. So that information can be found as well. We also have links on how to do business with the county. So if you're a business and you want to know how to engage with the county, we've got that information. And then when we do requests for proposals, we've got those bid opportunities listed as well. That's updated continually, so I would encourage people to access the website on a continual basis.
Great. Amy, as a county manager then, what has been your philosophy moving forward?
Thank you, Sally. I believe that our financial sustainability poses a real challenge for the foreseeable future for Cumberland County. I've mentioned several of those, and just to recap those, federal budget issues will continue to be a challenge for this community. Federal budget issues affect our sales tax. There's a direct link. Additionally, state budget issues may also be a consideration and provide some type of negative impact for the county budget. In addition, rising expenditures. Health care is predicted to continue to rise. Operational increases such as fuel and utilities are also a consideration. All of these factors will pose a real challenge for the county going forward. I believe we need to continue our budget philosophy that we've used for many years, and that is only adding recurring expenditures to the extent that we can identify recurring revenue sources. And finally, I believe going forward, Sally, our department heads and our leadership team, which includes our department heads, is going to be challenged. We really need to define our core services and functions. We can use the county's strategic plan as our guide. I think that's what we need to emphasize. I'm not sure that we're in a position at this point to expand our current services. Then, Sally, I think we need to look at finding ways to streamline service delivery. We need to identify efficiency in our operations and find ways to reduce cost. And finally, I believe technology is a way to enhance these efficiencies, but also to continue the rich tradition of providing excellent customer service to the citizens of Cumberland County.
Okay, well, this is great information. Thank you so much for being here today, sharing your philosophy, and for sharing with our citizens information on where they can find the budget and the reasoning behind the decisions that were made. So thank you. Thank you for sitting in and joining us on our conversation. Our guests have been Amy Cannon and Melissa Cardinali. We hope you will join us for future Cumberland Conversations. You can learn more about what's happening in Cumberland County government by visiting our website or our Facebook page. We also hope you will consider enrolling in our Citizens Academy, which we offer twice each year.